Let's start with the slow start. So the Niners beat the Chargers. Everyone expected the Niners to beat the Chargers. I think the Niners expected the Niners to beat the Chargers. I think the Chargers expected the Niners to beat the Chargers. We expected a bigger victory, though. I expected 28-14, 27-17, something like that. Defense did its job, although it had a slow start. Offense didn't really step up until the very end. So we'll talk about the offense in a bit. But the slow start, it was the offense, it was the defense. The defense couldn't cover anyone in the first half, gave up 16 points in the first half to a terrible offense. Shut them down in the second half. So where did that come from? How did the Niners start off so slow? Well, to me, that is a reflection of the head coach. Sorry to start off negative, but the Niners are coming off a bye week. You know the deal with Andy Reid. When Andy Reid has extra time to prepare, you're screwed. He wins. And all of his genius coaching comes through because he had extra time. Kyle was like, the Chargers were the team that looked like they were coming off a bye week. So what is the failing of Kyle in that respect? Well, to me, a head coach, I mean, his number one job is to stress the importance of every game. Every game. Really important. You could lose any game. And Kyle didn't do that, in my opinion. I mean, this was a team that had a week off, beat the Rams. Once again, everyone's calling the Niners contenders, saying they're the scariest team in the league. The Niners believed it. Everyone said the Chargers are trash. They're very banged up. The Niners believed it. And all of a sudden, they're losing to the Chargers. It seemed like, kind of like what happened to the Raiders today, all right? The Raiders lost to the Colts, who suck. And they just fired their coach. And they have this new coach, Jeff Saturday, who everyone thinks is a freaking joke, although he just won today. And so McDaniel's job with the Raiders was to stress to his team, hey, we could lose this game. We got to take this as seriously as any other game. They didn't, because McDaniel's is not a good head coach, and they lost to Jeff freaking Saturday. Kyle won because his team is way better than the Chargers. Eventually, the Niners' talent just took over, as it should have all game. But they were losing in the fourth quarter. They had 13 points with about 8 minutes left. So I think this shows that Kyle Shanahan, although they're 5-4, maybe you want to throw him a parade, he's not exactly Andy Reid. I mean, to come out that flat after a bye week is totally a reflection of the coach. And frankly, even though the defense didn't perform great in the first half, it shut out the Chargers in the second half, gave up 16 points total. That's a very good performance. It was the offense that really still is underperforming and made this game closer than it needed to be. So still waiting for the 49ers head coach to sort of like join the party this season. Really, really, really talented team that consistently plays down to its opponents unless the opponent is in the NFC West. Otherwise, the Niners will pretty much hang with anyone unless that team is the Chargers. So we're 10 weeks in, and I don't know what to make of this team. They consistently play down to their opponents, but they could go 6-0 in the NFC West and win the division and lose first round in the playoffs. I don't know. They took care of business tonight, but this was not a performance that makes you feel like, hey, I have no more questions about this team. They're going to take off from here. Like this is another game where you're like, okay, so they let the Chargers hang around. What's going to happen when the Niners face a playoff team? What's going to happen in January when they have to face Philly or Dallas? Is it me or was there zero play action tonight? There was until Jimmy Garoppolo got sacked on a play action pass, and they took that out. What do you think of Greenlaw getting ejected? I thought there was no need for him to be ejected, and I hope he doesn't get suspended. I expected it. If you hit a quarterback that hard in the head, they're probably going to throw you out. I don't think he meant to hit Herbert that hard in the head. It's just the way the league tries to protect their quarterbacks, and Herbert is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, so I'm not surprised they gave him that protection. If they find Dre Greenlaw, hopefully Kyle Shanahan pays for it. Dylan says we need to get rid of McGlinchey ASAP. He is bad. I've been trying to tell you guys. People that like defend him for a living, shame on you. Sacramento Mike says the defensive adjustments after halftime. Yeah, absolutely. Agree. Also, the Chargers have no one on offense. What's the point of Debo in our offense? I don't know. I'll talk about that in a minute. Do you think the league knew Debo wouldn't sustain success and that's why the Niners didn't get any great offers for him this offseason? I think it's possible. I mean, I think the word's out on Debo. I think the word is that great player, but questionable professionalism. I mean, you saw him at the Warriors game this weekend. He was guzzling Mike and Ike's. I'm sorry. Like, you are a professional athlete who gets paid $20+ million a season, and you got a sweet tooth, and you're like 5 pounds overweight, and you're the guy that wears the t-shirt in the shallow end of the pool. Like, stop eating Mike and Ike's. I'm sorry. I bet you Nick Bosa doesn't have that kind of a sweet tooth. I bet you he's not crushing 1,000 calories of sugar late at night. Stop, Debo. You're not a first contract youngster anymore. You're the peak of your profession. Act like it. Seabass says, am I blind, or did Shanice Cam not run plays to Debo or CMC with both lined up in the backfield? 5 wide receivers, 2 running backs. Shake my head. Lack of creativity still. Yeah, man. I mean, you give this guy all this firepower, 22 points against the Chargers? Not impressive. Nathan Flores says, so much firepower week 10 in the Niners only scored 16 on offense minus the 2 field goals. Seems like last year versus the Colts after a bye, but with different results. Need more points in the playoffs. Yeah, man. I mean, Christian McCaffrey was supposed to fix everything. Gregory Young says, if Andy Reid coached this team, they would have hung 50 points on this beat-up Chargers team. Grant, Debo with cheese looks so slow. Debo with cheese. I'm telling you. Also, if Mike McDaniel coached this team, they'd be putting up 30, 40 points a game. Look what he's doing in Miami. Mike McDaniel is a genius. Maybe not a genius, but he's really smart. 808 Niner says, what's the purpose of having CMC and Debo in the backfield if he's going to motion one of them one way and run the opposite way of the motion? Isn't the point of the motion to create space to run at? I don't know. You'd have to ask the genius. Good question, though. Moonman says, how is it possible to have all these weapons and give the offense performance? How consistent is this offense? How is it possible to have all these weapons and give this offense performance? How consistent is this offense? Is it going to continue the whole year? I think so, because the issue is coaching, and that was my point. Kyle scapegoated Jeff Wilson Jr., who played freaking great today for the Miami Dolphins. Like, he's the reason the Niners weren't good enough. And they replaced him with another running back who kind of struggled today. Watching the offense is boring and repetitive, says the freak. And takes 3 to 5 business days to get into the red zone to kick a field goal. Hey, man, when they kicked the field goal from the 2-yard line, that was pathetic. Josh Wyatt says, rank these 5 running backs' performances in Week 10. Debo, Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, CMC, Mostert. Do we still think that position was the problem? Yeah, frankly, I mean, CMC was the worst. Mitchell and Wilson were the best. Imagine if they still had Wilson. Wilson's so good.